Good morning, everyone. I'm Ola from Itera, and the recent report, which is called Think Twice on Financial Trends, says that AI becomes powerful only when operational reality can absorb it. And that connects perfectly to our topic of today's discussion. We will stay very practical and fun, we agreed on that we will talk about expectations versus reality, what actually works today in financial services, how internal AI becomes customer value, and how to move from pilots to scale and to real delivery. So let's start. And it's obviously there is a lot of excitement around AI, right? Look where we are. It's a huge place, a lot of conversation on that. And sometimes there is a lot of pressure for improvements just immediately, right away. So let's talk about this, and because the reality in financial institutions is much, much harder. So my first question is, let's look at the foundation, expectations versus what really happens inside organizations. Let's start maybe with you, Jose. How do you balance ambitious expectations around AI with the real complexity of deploying it responsibly inside a financial institution?
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Okay, it seems to me that the expectations are fairly accomplished, to tell you the truth. In fact, we want a good example of we just integrated a bank in Portugal last Monday.
Yeah.
And we use extensively an artificial intelligence system called Sophia for learning and the change management of all the new colleagues, Portuguese colleagues in our bank. I mean, it's a branch of more than 200, a network of more than 200 branches, which is really working with the help of artificial intelligence, which cover this artificial intelligence of the internal knowledge that our bank has, move it into a vector database, huge one, for really helping the learning process. It's our best good example about 2 days ago in our bank. Aside from more than 100 of implementations of models, mostly linked to our robotic process automation. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a good example. So the expectations are okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for this, Jose. Arthur, maybe let's come to your company, insurance company, and do you feel a little bit of pressure from the society and stakeholders in terms of the speed of receiving results and efficiency?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. I guess the main thing is expectation management, because you have the workers on the front line that feel threatened by AI, that feel like it's going to steal their job, and you have the C-level who is reading the press, mostly about banks, not so much about insurance, and seeing numbers that make no sense, to be fair, at least for our company. So we spent a good chunk of time talking to those two types of population, saying, you're not going to lose your job tomorrow, and no, we're not going to cut the cost by 30% in a week. And when you do this, you manage to have a range of goals, which is both ambitious and doable. And by doing so, we've managed to alleviate the pressure of the C-level and still managing to do things. And so we have 80 applications of AI working within the company. And it's proven to be, of course, a difficult path, but it's not the pressure that made it difficult, it's the technology itself.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Martin, maybe you share your perspective from the data point of view.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I mean, we try and be customer zero for our own technology, so a lot of our work started internally. We're a large and complex organization serving large and complex customers, and so we have a huge contracts database, for example. Well, you can then take embedding models, you can vectorize your contracts, then you can understand which contracts have similar liabilities. It's a short hop from there to sucking up lots of external data, vectorizing that, and now we can revolutionize or transform anyway the account planning process and up-level the skills of our account team so they can have a better understanding of the issues, the needs of their customers, and they can serve those customers better. And then it's a short hop from there to take that same approach and that same technology to solve a whole bunch of problems similar to the ones that we've just been discussing that we would refer to as AI for CX, AI for the customer experience. So if I can take unstructured interaction data, emails, chats, call recording transcripts, If I can vectorize those with an embedding model, now I can understand what those conversations refer and relate to. If I can join that with all of the other data I have about customers, events, transactions, now I can do some really interesting things. Now I can develop really sophisticated compliance solutions, really sophisticated agentic customer complaint management solutions, and I can understand in large organizations for the first time things like the drivers of Net Promoter Score. What is improving Net Promoter Score or making Net Promoter Score worse? And for me that's really interesting because that gets to the heart of one of the things I think we've been discussing a lot this week, which is how do we go from pilots to scalable production implementations? And we've been working with some large Asian banks, and we can now process 21 million customer conversations annually to understand drivers of NPS, conversations that were never leveraged for analytics before.
Yeah, thank you for touching that, and we will return to that point a little bit later. And now let's go back to banks. Sebastian, what's your point on that? How do you manage expectations?
For us, like Jose was mentioning, and also Arthur was mentioning, it's all about expectations of the workforce. There's a lot of people that tend to see it as a threat, but we also see that AI will be an augmenting element to their work. So in essence, if we are able to help them out and streamline their work, they will be more happy, and therefore they'll do more and be more connected to the organization. So it's twofold. Yes, the C-level expects us to cut costs, but it's also about doing more with less people in the end, right? So you see a big change now in the banking space that we all have shrinking population. It's we want to do more with less, and then you can benefit from what AI is already doing, but from a positive side of things. So you augment their way of work, you optimize their outputs, and in the meantime also, like you mentioned in the call centers, what if you wouldn't do all the regular recurring stuff anymore, but really add the value in the conversation on the customer experience that you have with your customers, and then move forward on that. And I think so there's a customer expectation, there's this employee expectation, and in the end it benefits all of us if we have better customer experiences, therefore higher NPS, etc., etc.
Thank you for sharing. And this is another topic that I want to discuss now. You mentioned customers, yeah? Like, let's be honest. We can improve operational efficiency like to the level high, but if it doesn't felt by our customers, by your customers, it doesn't make any sense. So let's talk a little bit about that. How internal AI work translate into customers' value? And my question, maybe Sebastian, you would like to continue, or feel free to pick up the microphone as well. What internal AI initiatives are already making a meaningful difference inside the organizations, and how do customers feel that impact?
Yeah, so I think overall, and then please step in if you like. So there's multiple processes that are benefit from AI. Well, I mentioned the customer interaction types of, but it's also about we have this heavy KYC load, so the anti-financial crime. You need to be on top of the customers, you need to know what they do, and you also need to be able to do the right analysis based on what they foresee. And based on that, you'll have a better experience on that side also. So it's all of speed of delivery, it's on optimizing, and it's also, well, in the end, raising the quality of the overall output that you deliver on that level. Anything to add, gents?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Mostly our clients see with AI and improving the process. I mean, process issues are important from the point of view of client experience. So AI, with you improve the process, this is the easiest way, right? The process first. And the second is the relationship, which is we have to take much more care because of client experience is one of the main attributes of any bank in this particular point in time, and so we have to take and we have to test much more the effects. Okay, and we are doing that is using small pilots. But of course, our main approach right now is more the BPO side of the scene, right? Not really the client. I mean, we don't have our 2 million clients on AI system right now. I mean, this is no.
But overall, what you said is you optimize the process.
Yeah,
and therefore you
of course, if you
make
optimize
it
process, your client is going to be benefit by that, and he will notice perfectly. For instance, encouraged renewal is one of the best example right now. Okay,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is shorter cycles of client renewal due to the fact of using AI.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that, in the context of Abanca, like you mentioned integrations, you recently acquired a few banks, in Portugal, in Spain, so it's like
Exactly.
all the different legacy systems or modern systems, the cultural differences. So probably AI helps to make it like smoother and help customers to don't feel any changes for them, right? Yeah, and how does it work for insurance?
Well, I guess we all have that balance to find between customer value and customer perceived value. And of course, insurance, it's a matter of having the lowest price for the same service. So of course, operational efficiency is very important. But if you do only that, the client is not going to be happy because he's not going to feel anything much different because it's all behind the scenes. But at the same time, insurance is a business of trust, and it's still very human. They want to speak to someone human. So the main idea was to balance between doing things behind the scenes and being able to give tools to our client-facing employees to make them sharper, to have them more precise answers and things like that. Plus, we have a few cases in insurance where we have a peak of expectations from our customers, especially after big hailstorms, where a lot of people try to reach us and can't. And their voice bots and chatbots prove to be an efficient way to tell people, okay, AI is helping you and it's going to alleviate that peak and it's going to help everyone be happy, both the customer and the employees. And so we focused on that for the first batch of AI products.
Yeah, great, thank you. Martin, let's go to you. We see your customers, I see them happy. It's true. What about you? Like how internal changes tend to drive customer experience?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what we do internally is customer zero, then translates to the work that we do externally. And I guess that there are three things that I think have been really powerful for us. The first is the one that we already touched on, is that the AI technologies, the other superpower of the AI technologies, because we're all focused on the agentic discussion right now, but the other superpower of the new generation of AI technologies is making sense of unstructured data, images, audio, text, and specifically right now, text and language. And that means that we can leverage all the unstructured data in the organization, specifically the customer interactions, and we can develop a much, much better understanding of what's going on in our organizations, which is pretty critical for B2C organizations like you guys, right? The second thing that I think is really interesting, Ola, is that now we can use technologies like MCP to create a conversational interface so that everybody can become a power user now, and it can enable far more users to ask far more questions and more complicated questions of the data without necessarily have to understand how the data is represented or to be an expert in writing those complex queries. And then the third thing that's really interesting from our perspective is as we move to agentic solutions, it's very, very clear that those are complex multi-step processes, and the LLM technologies that we base those solutions on are simultaneously very sophisticated, but also very ignorant of what's going on in our organizations, of our customers' particular circumstances. So if you want to build a really good agentic customer complaint solution, then you have to be able to answer basic questions like, who is this customer? Are they a high-value customer or a low-value customer? What's their propensity to churn? Their predicted customer lifetime value? And the agent knows none of these things by itself, but all of that context is available in the back-end data platforms. So connecting the agents with the back-end data platforms with that context, from our perspective, becomes absolutely fundamental to making this work at scale.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Maybe you want to add something, or?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you didn't mention yet is the fact that we need to be able to explain also the results of these AI outcomes, right? So you can have all the data, there can be decisions taken, you can help all your customers to become, let's say, either more successful or happy. But we also need to make sure that whenever they're not, that we also understand how did this reasoning concept come to this outcome. And I think that's the most important part, and I think that's also something that I would like to stress here. If we really going to roll out AI in big scale, make sure that explainability is there, it's key, it's from the start. Because this is where your trust, like Arthur was stating, is really important. Because if you cannot explain the outcomes, then it becomes more difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, can I say something?
Sure.
I just want to stress the point that you raised. Remember, you mentioned how important is the data. The data, the backbone of the AI system, right? And this data must have the highest quality, most the structured and unstructured one. So is what we have to pay attention the most, you know. And the second one is the deployment. But the very first one is the data and the kernel of such a, the quality why, the reason why we are able to deploy a system for helping our employees and clients in Portugal is because of the quality of the data. No other reason. You know, it's otherwise will be lost in a nightmare, okay?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And to build on top of that and continue our discussion, Arthur also mentioned that the importance of like humane component, let's say, yeah? So the strongest results today often come from augmentation rather than from autonomy. So where do you see real, tangible impact from AI today, especially for those that support teams, improve speed, and enhance the accuracy?
I would say that it mattered most to do it in KYC because it's very efficient. It's something that's really dragging on the teams when they have to do it. It's something that's very easy to have some automation on, and it's somewhere where the data is very clean. Because I completely agree on the importance of data, and I guess insurers are a bit lagging behind banks on that because we did not have the DSP2 requirements coming into force. And so we are going to get better at that with FIDA in the coming years. So I'd say KYC was the first one, chatbot, voicebot, and everything that is summary, speech to text, and text to speech really makes sense for an insurer right now because it's not so much data that is stored, but data that is hot.
Thank you. We are running out of time, but I suggest you give examples because as I think audience is very excited to hear what exactly.
Sure.
Would like to add?
So on our side, I think also the procurement guys, the audit teams, everybody that works with a lot of documents and a lot of evidence that needs to be processed, and that could be the KYC, but it's also internally, right? You do RFPs, you do all that kind of analysis, utilize AI to get your thinking augmented, but then at least make sure that the human decides on how to proceed on stuff. And I think that's the most important part. So it's really about growing an additional limb, utilizing that to be more effective. And I think my advice would be, if you start AI, implement it in a production system, because you will learn far more than just doing a lot of POCs. And just try and then learn also from what you do, as long as you keep it explainable and you can also adapt whilst going forward.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with everything that's just been said. I think wherever you have unstructured data in your organizations, you have a huge opportunity, particularly if you can connect that unstructured data with the structured data assets that you already have, and the sort of contracts and the policies that you were referring to, huge opportunity. The customer-facing opportunity in the B2C industries in the short term is, I think, around, you would call it KYC, I would call it CX, but applying AI for CX, that's a huge opportunity, and we're already seeing a lot of our customers start to realize that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you a lot. So the clear message today that AI creates real value when foundations are strong, people feel supported, and we still stay humane, and organizations focus on augmentations and on real delivery, not just ambition that is in the air somewhere, not here, because here are very specific. And as we say, the winners aren't those with the most data, but those who learn and adapt the fastest. Thank you so much to my speakers, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.